here back with another Splinterlands video. So the content continues around Riftwatchers and the most previous town hall. In that town hall, so we knew that we were going to get 6 epic summoners, 1 for each of the splinters in the Riftwatchers set. These are all going to be pullable from packs. And they were all revealed. So we have all 6 of them. Again, they're going to be epic. And I'm going to count them down right now from 6 to 1, my least favorite to my favorite. And we're going to talk about the cards, talk about some potential synergies. These might be some longer videos, and maybe even buy some cards that I think would benefit from them. But before we get into it, I am Hawks21. I cover Splinterlands content here on my channel. If you are new here, or you just haven't subscribed yet and you're enjoying my content, it would be awesome if you could take a second to subscribe to the channel and then like the video. If you're looking for me in other places, I also cover the game on Twitter. I just actually hit 500 followers on Twitter. I talk about the game a lot there. It's a little more interactive than here on YouTube, although I do try to get to most of your comments. And then finally, if you want the most immediate access to me, I do have a Discord channel, and you can find the links for everything below in the description. Okay, let's get into it. So just a quick overview. For Earth, we have Fernheart, +1 heart with close range. As you can see, they gave them all abilities, right? So just like Dice, where every Dice summoner, here, we'll go take a look. Dice summoner. So every Dice summoner has an ability. They're doing the same thing here, where they want to give every single Riftwatcher summoner an ability. So that might be a thing they do moving forward with the mini sets. But as you can see here, there's a great unbalance between how good the abilities are, right? On the high end, you have Mylor and Lorna Shine, whose abilities are insane, and are sort of meta-defining within their splinters. Then on the other end, you got Veracelatia, who I would consider to be the least effective summoner in the game, although it's very cheap. So, if you start thinking about land and stuff, we're going to need summoners for that. Vera is going to work the land just as well as any of these right here, so something to keep in mind. And then you have Quid Yuff as well, who I think is slightly underrated, and I think the price is being depressed a little bit because Yasik got piercing, but I like Quid. And then in the middle, you have some auxiliary pieces, right? Like Niche. Bright and Bloom's great, specifically for Earthquake, obviously, because you can just play whatever lineup you want, and they all get flying. And then also, if you want to just toss some flying out there and make your team harder to hit. And then, obviously, Ouster with the Magic Reflect can be very powerful in the right context. They did something a little bit different this time to try to balance this out a little bit. For some of the abilities I think they thought were weakest, we see that you also get a buff. So for the Fernheart, close range gets the +1 health. And then for Ilfian, the return fire gets the +1 speed, which, as we know, speed is killer. So they did try to balance it out a little bit. I have thoughts on all of these summoners. I think some are way better than others, so that's why I wanted to do this countdown. But I also want to spend some time talking about each one, so it's not like my least favorite. I'm not going to talk about it all. That's why I'm going to break it up into 2 parts. So this part, we're going to go 6, 5, 4. So my least favorite, my second least favorite, and then my next least favorite. And then tomorrow, we are going to do, or I should say my next video is going to be 3, 2, 1. So my third favorite, my second favorite, to my favorite. Okay, let's kick things off. So coming in at number 6, if you've been following my channel, you will know my disdain for this ability. But we did get news in the same town hall that they are fixing my biggest gripe with the ability. Still, I'm just not buying it yet. Maybe I'm wrong and I have to see it, but coming in at number 6 is Dallin. I just don't. So what I'm talking about, if you don't know what's being fixed. So originally, if you would hit someone with the cripple ability, it would take off. What cripple ability is supposed to do is diminish a monster's max health. So if the monster has a max health of 9 and you hit it with cripple, it then gets a max health of 8. That can be helpful because if that monster heals, or if you have tank heals in the back, the healing is based on that monster's max health. Same thing with triage, right? So if you have slip spawn on the earth team, a taunt in the back, if you keep hitting that with cripple and your opponent's triaging, the heals will be for less because the max health is lower. So in the 9 health example, if it goes down to 8 max health, originally with 9 it was healing for 3, now with 8 it's only going to heal for 2. The problem was when you cleanse someone with cripple, so how I thought it should work is, if you had had their health down to 6 with a max health of 8 in my example, right? So starts with a max health of 9, the cripple gets it down to a max health of 8, and then you've also done 2 more damage. So it's sitting at a max health of 8 with 6 HP left. If it got cleansed, how I thought it should work was the max health should just go from 8 to 9. That to me would make sense, right? Because that was the effect cripple was having, was reducing the max health. But how it worked, and they basically came out and said it was not intended to work like this and this was a bug, and so they're fixing it before this summoner comes out. If you cleanse someone who had been hit with cripple, they also gained a health back. Or if you had hit them with multiple cripples, so in this case you'd presumably be hitting monsters with multiple cripples, the cleanse would get rid of all of those cripples and it would act as a heal. So the health, not only the max health would increase, but the amount of HP they had at the time would increase by that same amount. So there were times where you were getting like double and triple heals from just being cleansed. So to me, that was the worst game mechanic that existed in the game. And it used to drive me nuts. I would purposely not play monsters with cripple because I didn't want to have to deal with that. But now it's fixed. And not only is it not only did they sort of get rid of that cleanse heal situation, you can't cleanse cripple at all, which makes sense in the name, right? So the idea is, you're breaking someone's bones. It's not something that should be able to cleanse you away. Like it should require more than just a cleanse. So you can't fix it, which is crazy. So it's not even cleansing it only increases the max health and they got rid of the heal. You can't even increase the max health. So there's some use here and there's some niche use. Think about, any sort of taunt setup. I think this is another chapter in their push to counter taunts. The shield bearer. Specifically, right, you're talking about with Grandmaster Wraith. It takes forever to get through a shield bearer. There are tons of heals and repairs and stuff in life. And, resurrects. And, a lot of times you're spending the whole battle almost getting rid of shield bearer while the life team is just slowly eliminating your guys until you just don't have enough damage to get rid of shield bearer. Well, now since it can't be cleansed, you'll be able to get his max health down to an absurdly low level, right? You'll still have to deal with the repairs and stuff, but you can almost make heals completely irrelevant. And, going from 6 or 7 armor and 10 health, I believe he has at the highest level, you could have him in a situation where he has 1 max health. So if you just hit him with a poison at the end of the turn, or, in general, you instead of having to go through 17, you would have to go through 8, the 7 shield and the 1 max health. So this is going to be super helpful when dealing with shield bearer. Or, another example is the slip spawn or the wave brood, the backline tanks. When they just get backline taunts, when you just bring a bunch of triages to try to keep them alive. If you're hitting them with cripple, their max health is going to decrease a ton. And now they couldn't be cleansed originally, so you know, the update to cripple doesn't really have an effect there. All of your monsters having that and focusing there is going to help you get through that much, much quicker. Now, I just said a lot of good things and, you know, talked about 2 big strategies that this card can help you sort of mitigate or go up against. Why is it number 6? Well, first I would say I actually like these summoners a little bit more than everyone else seems to. I think there's a lot of promise with these, as you'll see as I make my way through. So me putting Dallin at 6 isn't necessarily saying I think this is a throwaway card, because I don't. To me, you would just really need to focus fire for this to be useful. And if you're not dealing with a situation with heals and stuff like that, it's not going to end up being that useful, in my opinion. Because if you're attacking someone, you're going to get into their health anyways. So it's one of those things where I don't think it's really additive to any card. And it's pretty standard with death, right? Death is normally debuffs. Or in this case, it's not a debuff, it's giving you your team an ability, but that ability basically debuffs the opponent. So you don't really have a case where death summoners are, you know, providing great direct synergies. But if we just go here, right, to peak monsters, we're going to be doing a lot of this. Death, neutral. We're going to stick in modern because that's what I cover on my channel. We'll just do regular. Like, scrolling through, there's not, like, you'd have to set up, you could do a sneak play, I guess. You know, there's some decent sneak monsters between the Silent Shavi, Uraeus, Undead Badger, and you could maybe get some additive things that way. Yeah, there's just not, for, you know, and I think there's some synergy. I actually don't fully understand this, but someone was telling me in my Discord that I didn't have time to look this up or confirm it or try to even test it. But if you hit someone with Life Leech, you also get health for the cripple aspect of it. To me, that would only make sense if you hit them with a shield, because if not, you'd be taking down their health anyways. But I think there could be some synergy with cripple and Life Leech. But someone's going to have to confirm that for me, because I don't really know. Because again, I avoid cripple at all costs. Basically, just in order for it to be useful, you would need to focus fire somewhere. And presumably you would want to focus fire at the main tank, right? Because that's generally the card that the other team's going to try to keep alive for as long as possible. And so it's just going to be like a slight boost to every card, right? But nothing too crazy, you know, which is why it just doesn't get me that excited. I think it could be useful, and I'll definitely want it for the reasons I mentioned, right? So if someone just keeps hammering a shield bearer play over and over and over and over again, this is going to be a great way to counter it. A unbelievable way to counter it. It would become probably my main way to counter it. Same with sort of that slip spawn in the back play. I would use death and cripple to go at that as well. But outside of those, there's no like situations that scream to me, ooh, I want to use the summoner that gives all of my monsters cripple. So that's why it comes in at number 6. There's just nothing in particular that gets me very excited about it. I think it's going to be useful. I mean, if you want to compare it to the dice summoners, you know, I think it's much more useful than Vera, much more useful than Kid, even though I love Kid. I don't love, I think he's just underrated. I like Kid. Well, yeah, it's just, compared to these other ones, it just comes in at number 6. And again, I'm still not a believer in the ability. I'm going to have to see it. I think it's a lot better now, but I'm going to need to see some gameplay before I can fully buy in. But I still want to own it. I actually want to own all of these. Okay, let's move on to number 5. This one was hard. The next two, I struggled separating a little bit. And the one who's going to come in at 4, the main reason why they came in at 4 was because I could see potential for massive future synergies very easily. Like, it's not hard to build synergies with this summoner, where with the one that's coming in at number 5, there's not a ton of, there's some baseline synergies, but directly it's a little difficult. And coming in at number 5 is Ilfian. So it's weird putting a summoner with the +1 speed here at number 5 this low, but I also like the return fire ability, but it's another situation where it's very defensive, and so it's hard to build out direct synergies and strategies based on the return fire, right? Like, you almost toss it out there when you're expecting range or archery attack, and if you don't get it, you're kind of, you lose the main ability that Ilfian offers, right? If they only bring magic monsters and you're not expecting that, then the return fire is useless. Now, obviously, there's specific rule sets where you expect more range, like close range, and no magic or no melee. There's an increased likelihood you're going to see ranged. This also very useful, and it's a reason why I have it pretty far above Dahlan. So it's not like they're very close in my brain. Dahlan's by far the lowest, and again, I don't hate him either. But like, pretty good Jotun counter. Some of those mid mana Jotun teams are really annoying to go against because it's very difficult to get enough defense and like return fire in there. And the big thing is, Ilfian's going to give you a return fire option in bronze, silver, gold, areas where you typically don't have that. So levels where, like, I know a lot of people, when you come up against Jotun in silver, there's like nothing you can do. You just can't get enough defense out there to defeat Jotun. So this is the biggest thing about this card. I think this card is amazing for some of the lower levels to help counter, because it brings an ability that you don't see in a lot of monsters at that level, right? A lot of the return fire monsters get it in gold and diamond and champion, where bronze and silver is less of a thing. So lower levels, I really like this card, and I could see myself, when you compare it to General Sloan, right? There's going to be times where I would rather run like a low mana, decent life squad right now. I think Ilfian plays more into that squad than General Sloan, mainly just because of the speed. And then if I get lucky with the return fire, that's great. That's another reason why. It's just like, it requires a little bit of luck, and everyone gets return fire, so it's not like it's a huge synergy to specific cards, although I will say it helps some cards than others. It makes cards more solid defensively. And let's take a look. I'll point some of those out. So now we're going to quickly switch to life and neutral. So here's one. Pelacor Conjurer, I think, is an insane synergy with Ilfian. So at silver, it gets the magic reflect. Already has the flying. So now you're going to have 5 speed because of the boost, magic reflect, and return fire. So any type of damage except melee is going to be sent back. And it's going to be really hard to hit. It's going to be harder to hit now with the 5 speed and flying. And then just bring it up to the top level, right? It's going to be 6 speed, 8 health, phase, flying, magic reflect, and divine shield. But for this point, right, magic attacks can dodge here. It's going to be faster, has the flying. If it does get hit with magic, it sends it right back. Archery, good chance to dodge, has the flying, the good speed. If it gets hit with archery, it's going to send that back. So Pelacor Conjurer gets a lot better as like a little tank. It's already, I think, an amazing card, and I think one of the cards, not financial advice, but personally, if I were to pick a card that would see the most price increase after the print rate goes out, it would be the Pelakor Conjurer. And I think Ilfian just adds to that story because I think it synergizes really, really well. Keep going down the list. Blinding Reflector is another one. It's a pretty good magic defender. And so now if you just add in the Return Fire as well, and you put that in the first position. Think about, you could do a Jotun defense with, in a mid-mana game, Blinding Reflector up front, Pelakor Conjurer in the second position, and you could even switch that, to be honest, but I assume you'd maybe want the Blinding Reflector to be able to attack. I said switch it maybe because you could get some dodges from the Pelakor, where if it was in the second position, it would just be kind of soaking up Blast. Although with the 8 health, it's pretty good at soaking up Blast for 2 mana as well. And then you would be in a situation... where magic or range damage from Jotun would hit the Blinding Reflector, hit the Pelakor, and both of them would send them back, regardless of what kind of damage they were. Except for melee, obviously. So that would be an interesting little strategy. You know, with my low mana, I like to play Stitch Leech. So, you know, picking up a speed only has 3 speed, so it's a little slow. Getting that to 4 speed is helpful. And then also the Life Leech, right? It's going to pick up some health. By the time it moves to the front position, hopefully it has some more health. Now it's going to have some Return Fire. So that could help you pull out a game at the end. Let's see. See, this again, why it's 5th is there's not a ton of direct synergies. Yeah, again, I just think it's useful. Like, Zenith Monk is another example. Pretty good against magic already. Now, if you just add in that Return Fire, it's going to become even a better defender. So to me, it just offers minor improvements on top of cards that are already pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if I have any more to say on that one. I'll have more specific cards to point out with the next 4, which is part of the reason why they're higher on the list. Oh, I guess giving it to the Legionnaire Alver would be kind of crazy, right? It has the Void Armor, so it's a ton to go through. The additional speed is whatever, 2 to 3 speed. It helps, obviously. Any speed helps. But then giving this Return Fire, that's just a ton to get through. So yeah, it seems like it's going to help tanks, right? It's going to help cards that are good defenders, you know, continue to be good defenders. So like Almo, for example, gets Return Fire in gold. So not that much synergy. Crawlus, I know a lot of people don't have Crawlus. Giving this Return Fire would be crazy. Same with Chain Golem. When does Cornelius get it? Again, gets it in gold. So a lot of these cards get that ability in gold. So some of the synergies might dissipate in the higher leagues. But I think lower leagues, Ilfian is a fantastic card. Just to give you the option. Because previously the only option to get Return Fire was to run Liral Deep Swimmer in water at the lower levels. And then I think there's a couple monsters. Like I know there's the Earth monster. The name's escaping me, but it has high health and the magic attack. It gets repair later on too. Now I have to look it up. There it is, Centauri Mage. Yeah, I know there's like this one. But other than that, I just know there's not that much Return Fire at the lower levels. So getting that from a summoner, a 4-mana summoner at that, is a great thing. Okay, last one for this video. Coming in at number 4 is Fernheart. I like this card. I think it's going to have a lot of use cases. Earth right now, the only time I really use it is for some niche Obsidian magic plays. And then I also use it as a counterpart with Dragon, putting the Slip Spawn in the back, sort of Queen Mycelia, and then what's the 3-mana neutral triage monster, Just gonna spend the whole time looking up monsters. Spirit Hoarder. And then having sort of Carnage, Titan, and, you know, big damage dealers up front. Maybe Grund. And then some niche magic plays with Obsidian. That's basically it. So I'm looking for other ways to utilize the Earth Splinter. And I think Fernheart helps bring diversity to the Splinter. There's way more ways you can use Earth now if you have an Obsidian and a Fernheart. And there's some cards, and we saw one of them, the Izza. I think it like tripled in price once this came out, because it was actually Tails. He predicted this based on some of the monsters that were in Earth. So props to him. Tails from the Cryptmancer. If you don't follow him, you should. He is a fantastic content creator. But let's go take a peek at those cards. You know, it's very obvious which cards are going to have the synergies, because they are the archery monsters. So we'll just quickly scroll through. Big one is the Venari Seedsmith. Has the scavenge. The biggest problem, obviously, with the Seedsmith was it would get all this scavenge, it gets to the front, and it can no longer attack. So it was great in the 5th position. A lot of times when I have used this monster, when I'm not expecting sneak, I'll put it in the 5th position and Dr. Blight right behind it with the boost from Obsidian. Or even put in the 4th position with Blight in the 5th and Jin Bilka in the 6th, because Bilka and Dr. Blight both have camouflage. And so he scavenges the health, gets to the front, you know, sometimes has, you know, 8, 9, 10 health at that point. And he can just soak up some damage, allowing Dr. Blight and Jim Bilka to keep attacking. Well, now Venari Seedsmith's going to be able to keep attacking in the front. So all of a sudden, you're going to get this monster at the highest levels with 4 attack, 4 speed, and then a ton of health that slips into the 1st position and can still attack. So I actually didn't have this card leveled up when I saw the summoner. I went and leveled it up. To me, there's no reason not to get this card leveled up right now at 2 cents. It's just above burn value. I know they're still printing it, but you know, if it goes any lower than this, you could burn it and make a profit. So there's very low downside risk to buying the Seedsmith right now. And it's like basically exactly why Fernheart was made. So that's a clear synergy. Another one. I actually like the Vampiric Blossom here, because with the Death Blow and the Oppress, it's really good end game for, you know, it's just really good end game. And the Oppress is nice to start the game because, you know, you get the failed summoner a lot. There's just a lot of no attack tanks that people toss out there. So getting that Oppress is super useful in the beginning of the game. And then Death Blow is super useful at the end of the game. The problem is, by the end of the game, Vampiric Blossom's normally near the front, at which point, and if it's not near the front by the end of the game, that means you've won by a lot and Death Blow is useless. In a close game where Death Blow can be of use, it can no longer attack once it gets to the 1st position. So Death Blow becomes useless. Well, now with Fernheart, when Vampiric Blossom slides into the 1st position, that 2x damage from the Death Blow, you could be doing 6 damage. At gold or higher, it does 6 damage at the end. You're still going to be able to do that. So it's going to become almost a must play in poison rule sets now at the highest levels with that immunity. Because you can stick it in the back, know it's not going to take poison damage, slide into that 1st position, and then it's going to be doing 6 damage with the Death Blow to a presumably weaker opponent by that point of the match. So very, very useful with Vampiric Blossom. And you can kind of see already why this card is ahead of the other two. There are some direct cards I can point out that are going to benefit, and that's just going to put it ahead. Barking Spider, I'm basically going to stop at almost every archer. Just the same thing, has a lot of health, good attack. It can now attack when it gets to the front. Goblin Tower and reverse speed is going to be a really good one too. Specifically with that blast, getting an extra turn or two because it can attack in the front position. Not only doing 5 damage to the front, but then that 3 blast damage. This could save you in some matches. Supply Runner obviously is going to be great. It's fast, got the good attack, okay health, but add in the swiftness at silver. You know, being able to play him and getting that extra attack, and the strengthen, so you're going to get a double strengthen at the highest level from Fernheart giving the extra health, and then Supply Runner giving another health. Mycelic Infantry actually probably gets a boost because you'll see more in Earth vs. Earth. You'll see more Fernheart, which means you'll see more ranged. And with the shield ability, it's great to counter the ranged. I'm not going to stop at the Dartling. Zenith Archer, same thing. You know, Mantoid, Gym Meteor. Hunter Jarks is another good one. Think about this reverse speed lineup you could run with ranged. Right, Hunter Jarks at the highest levels gets to 5, and then Goblin Tower gets to 5 at the highest level, and then all of a sudden they can both attack from the front, and they're super slow, so they'll go pretty quickly. He has True Strike anyways. There's some interesting combos now you can run with some slow, big hitting Earth lineups. Acid Shooter gets a little better, just from the fact that it can attack in the front. It's you know, 2 mana, very sneaky card. I like it a lot. Children of the Forest, same thing. Has okay health, pretty fast. 3 damage for 3 mana is good. Centauri Mage might actually get a little bit of a boost, just having that return fire. Again, you're going to see a lot more range damage in Earth now. So having this could be beneficial. Beatrix Ironhand is actually a card that I think gets that loses some value. I used to run this all the time in silver. This plus a card I'm going to talk about in a little bit. This already has the close range, so now you take that away and it loses a bunch of what made it valuable. So if there's a big loser from this card coming out, I would say it's the Beatrix. Oh, and then here's Izza. Oh, it's fallen back down a little bit, but this was like $1.70 and it went up to like $4. Another situation. So with the Scavenge, has the stun and the sneak, but the big thing was the Scavenge. So this and the Seedsmith now, you play them both together, and all of a sudden by the end of the match, you're going to have 2 backline monsters with huge amounts of health who can now both attack from the front. So the synergies here with Izza and the Seedsmith are insane. So if you haven't leveled this card up, I would highly suggest it. I actually haven't. I might grab this 4 copy here under $3. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I still think I'll need a couple, but I'll take it. Actually, I think I might have 1 copy on my rental account, so that might have actually done it for me. Yeah, synergies here with Izza are huge. Tower Griffin's actually a good one. Bring the Protect, and then all of a sudden they can attack from the front, so just the Protect will stay around. Or not stay around, it would still be there if it was in the front, but just it'll still be able to attack when it gets to the front. Let's see, Grenadier has low health. This is a big one. So 2 big ones. Warchang is a pretty big one. I actually sold one of my copies the other day. I'd be interested in potentially buying it back. Basically, when this now slides to the front, at the highest levels it has 3 ranged and 3 melee. That 3 range is going to be able to continue fighting. So you're going to all of a sudden get like a double strike monster from the front with Fernheart. So that's going to be very, very powerful. You know, even at the lower levels here, right? You know, here in silver, the 2 and 2, doing 4 damage with a slice in the front because it has the 9 health. That's very, very useful. It becomes like a pretty nice off tank. You can put that in the 2nd position. You can maybe eat up some snipes, and then when it slides into the 1st, it's going to attack twice with Fernheart. So very useful card here with the Fern Chain. Mitika Headhunter. I mean, this card's insane. It does so much damage. Has the piercing. You're talking about 6 damage in gold, 5 damage in silver. I used to run this all the time back in the day when I was playing in silver. Such a powerful, powerful card. Now, getting these extra attacks from this card, doing this much damage, it's pretty fast in the 1st position, is huge. So very, very good card. And I think... Okay, so the last one I want to talk about is the Cornelius. Obviously, this makes the Cornelius insane. A lot of people played him as a tank even when he couldn't fight from the attack from the first position, because you're talking heal, thorns, return flyer, magic reflect. Now it's also going to be able to do that 4 archery damage, or 3 archery damage at the lower levels. So this card just got a huge boost. This is already an insane card, very, very expensive. So I was probably not going to move the needle that much because it is so high in price. But this card gets a lot better. And I think that's it. So did a lot of talking. This video is definitely on the longer side, but it's very exciting when new cards come out. The next one's probably going to be even longer because I'm, obviously more excited about them because they're going to be my top 3 favorite out of these 3. So just to recap, coming in at number 6 is Dallin, number 5 is Ilfian, number 4 is Fernheart, and then in my next video, we're going to rank the top 3. So who's left? Tispa is going to be hard to pronounce that, Aquatis, and Scargor. So these 3 make up my top 3. You'll find out the order in the next one. So again, apologies for the long one, but there's just a lot to talk about and a lot to go over, and I get really excited when new summoners come out. So if you enjoy this type of content, it would be awesome if you could like and subscribe. And if you're looking for a way to support the channel a little further, join the Discord and check out my membership options. It's called the Bird Gang. You get a bunch of benefits if you join. And I'm actually going to be hosting a Riftwatchers group buy. More details to come in a future video. That are only going to be for Bird Gang members. Alright, I'm going to end it there. Thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying all of the content. Hope you're enjoying all of the new stuff coming out with Splinterlands. I will talk to you soon and see you around the game.